Okay, and we're back to like what, episode 5? Yeah, episode 5.
Yes.
And we have a very special episode, but not as special as the last episode. We
So
are
our
going to
more
be,
special and dear to our hearts.
yeah, one more special and dear to one of our hearts.
Yep, we're gonna be fucking talking about Arrancars and my innate ability to pronounce all of their gibberish fucking names.
Like Urkiok Brofrey.
Like Urkiok. Dude, it wouldn't fucking surprise me if there was an Arrancar. Aroniero Aronieri, Xylopero Grans, Urkiok Brofrey. It fits!
Yeah, it does. Wow, holy shit. Oh,
Like a
man.
fucking Cleodosfunk.
Oh, oh boy.
Frankly, it's weird. It's weirder when a fucking Arrancar has a normal name like Tyr Hollybell. How mundane.
How mundane and Grimjow.
Grimjaw.
If,
Okay,
okay,
he has a stop. He's half mundane and then half the other because his last name is Jaggerjack.
that's true. Um, But if you have a name that I'm able to pronounce, you have probably a pretty mundane name.
Coyote Stark.
Because, like, back when I was first reading Bleach, I had no idea how to fucking pronounce Noitora. Why two
Noitora.
N's?
Why too? Because fuck you.
Fucking whatever,
Or some
whatever.
or I don't even know how to pronounce Zamari's last name. Rauru.
And the one again, the one that I never pronounced because my brain couldn't even get past the first syllable is fucking Xylopero.
Dialogue, bro. Yep.
Because that's not how it's spelled in these notes here. Oh,
I in the notes I gave the Thomas version.
yeah, you gave the fucking John Smith version of Xylopero, the fucking version that would be
Be
on,
written down at Ellis Island.
yeah, the name to be written down in the fucking Disney Channel re-revival of Bleach, the fucking 4 Kids dub of Bleach.
I don't want to think about that.
Good.
Aizen banished Momo to the Shadow Realm
Banished her real good.
multiple times.
I'm sorry, Momo. I love you. Not enough to keep you though. I'm sorry.
Not enough to keep you. We don't like you that much.
And Aroniero.
Aronieri.
Hold on, let's see. 4 Kids dub name would be Arrow Nero. Then just drop the
Arrow
last name.
Arrow Nero.
So like
No,
the fucking
actually it's Arrow Nero, Arrow Nero. They didn't even try.
it would be the fucking wind spell from Final Fantasy. So Arrow, and then the fucking Roman dictator Nero.
Arrow Nero.
Arrow Nero. There we go. 4 Kids, pay me.
Don't.
Pay me.
We do not accept money from 4 Kids. We do not negotiate with terrorists, Thomas.
I negotiate with terrorists.
Stop.
Give me money.
Knock, knock, knock. FBI, open up.
Uh. Anyway, we're gonna be talking about Arrancar today, and we're basically going to be doing the same thing except with less acts this time.
Less acts. More of a delightful shoveling of people into different piles.
A delightful shoveling.
Yeah.
All right.
We're just taking the pooper scooper and moving them around. Rather than using that pooper scooper to fucking bludgeon their skull in.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a really sturdy. But anyway, let's get on with this. First section in the notes. Baragon's court. What does that mean?
Okay. So we're going to be mainly, instead of all of the Arrancar blanketly work for Aizen, We're going to be trying to go for more of that faction warfare feel of Soul Society.
Kind of crank it up to 11 on this one. Because with the Arrancar and the Numeros specifically, that's a lot of disparate personalities coming together for no real reason.
Other than Aizen's number is so big, which it isn't anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Well, again, we'll get into the specifics, but Aizen's not going to have like full access to the Hogyoku, or at least it's not going to do what it did before, and then just make him the biggest number imaginable. So a lot of people would have a lot less reason to work for him. So he's not just gonna run up to Baragon and say, "Hey, nerd, give me your fucking kingdom."
Like he did in the fucking manga. So
Ooh.
basically, Baragon is going to be the leader of a faction. Baragon, if you think about him, is kind of a fucking eldritch horror in the Bleach universe.
Yeah.
He's kind of more of an eldritch horror than he fucking gets treated as.
He just kind of gets treated as the wacky grandpa that also happens to age people to death.
Yeah. So in this case, Baragon is probably one of the oldest living Arrancar in Hueco Mundo. One of the most powerful, and exists not under Aizen, but temporarily aligned with and against Aizen.
Yeah. Kind of allies of convenience on this one. Because it's going to be more of a I know you're playing me kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like, I know you're playing me, but I'll allow it. Let's see where this goes.
Let's see how you fuck it up.
Let's see where this merry fuckwagon happens to end. What station?
Within his court, we maintain Xylopero, the 4 Kids version. Aronero and Zomari. They're going to be more or less unchanged as characters. They just work for Baragon now.
They work directly and explicitly under Baragon. And kind of what Baragon is going to represent in this new kind of rewrite is the old guard of Hueco Mundo, because he's kind of the incumbent right now, just based on pure raw power.
Raw power. He's been there the longest.
And then there's a lot of people. There's the people under him, so Xylopero, Zamari, and so on and so forth, who just kind of pay fealty to him just because he's the biggest number in the room, and also he furthers their goals as much as they do his.
Mm-hmm.
So
additionally, Rudeborn, who is not really a character, and he's going to continue not being a character. His purpose is just to generate troops, just to make foot soldiers.
Yeah, which is a shame because again, until we had the conversation before this episode, I had actually completely forgotten about this guy, and I forgot that he had a really sick design.
Really good design. It's simple, but it's effective.
Which actually, I'm almost saying like maybe we should bump him up a little.
I mean, I've made him a Espada, which we'll get to.
I'm sorry, I kind of like him.
We can give him a boosty. We can do some rewrites with Rootborn. We don't have anything.
We'll give him a Toriyama hand job.
We'll give him a hand job. Okay, I can live with that. But yep, he exists to kind of produce red shirts for Baragon's side.
Yeah,
which will come into play later. Team 2, Team Aizen.
Woo!
Now Aizen comes into Hueco Mundo and immediately takes advantage of civil unrest because Baragon's top bitch in charge, but there's people who want to see some things changed.
Yep.
For their own nefarious purposes. And he brings into tow Ulquiorra, Noitora, and Grimjow. As well as Dordoni, and Sarusi, the Privarona Spada that we mentioned previously.
Yeah.
They hang out too. Not the third guy, because I could care less.
Yeah,
Cut
and underneath all of these, he has written Fracciones, so those are implied to be going with them.
Yep. So not all of the numeros, because not all the numeros are important enough for me to care. Mm-hmm. But like the main Fracciones under Baragon, under Grimjow, Noritora's little twink dude, Aroniero's. I don't think Arrancar had any, but the Xylopero's dudes, they just implicitly work for whoever's in charge. They've replaced the numeros.
Yeah.
Mostly because the numeros don't exist in this version. We'll get to it. And now for faction 3, which isn't really a faction, it just sort of exists. And I've given it the pet name the Oasis. And this one is primarily held by Hollybell and Neliel, who more or less work together. And again, Hollybell's and Neliel's Fracciones. And they are basically, we are not these upstarts who are trying to start a fight, and we are not the old guard. We don't want anything to do with any of these power structures. We just want to be over here and do our own thing. But we also don't like where they're taking our home. So we'll do what we got to do.
Yeah, they're kind of going to be the closest to a neutral faction in this rewrite. There is a true neutral faction, but we'll get to them. But they're just going to be here. They don't necessarily want Eisen and his upstarts just because they don't like the smell of this bastard. And they really don't want Baragon just because he hasn't allowed them to be them in a very long time. And he's not openly hostile, but he's also just representative of everything that they don't like about the current management.
Mm.
So they're willing to fight for whichever side is going to allow them to be them. And that's going to happen to be our plucky young lads that come with the Hueco Mundo invasion. But again, that's another episode, so we'll get to that.
And that leaves the true neutral faction of Other, which is housed of one person who is Stark and Lilynette, technically.
Yep, Stark is a really big number.
Stark continues to be an incredibly powerful Arrancar, who's so powerful that people get close to him and just fucking explode. So he just wanders off into the desert and is kind of just a guru, and no one really talks to him, and he doesn't really talk to anybody. I really wanted to play up this aspect of Stark because, like, he's the Espada of loneliness because they all had like weird aspects to them and that didn't actually do anything in the series. But it was Stark. His whole thing was that he desperately wanted friends, but couldn't have any, and that created a self-defeating attitude.
God, you're giving me fucking flashbacks of the fan and wiki dive that we did the other day.
We're not talking about the fan and wiki, and we're never bringing it up. We're not bringing up what? King Crimson. Anyway. So Stark is in a self-defeating process in which he is making himself lonelier and lonelier, but he also doesn't want any friends. So he just lives out in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
And he'll make some friends later. We'll get to it. Now, you're thinking, okay, but what about the Espada? What happened to that concept? Well, we were keeping the idea of the Espada, but we're drastically changing it. It's no longer Eisen. Well, it's because like the military structure that Eisen presented of Espada, and then the Fracciones, and then there's the Numeros, and they're all numbered. Throw that in the trash. Don't care. The Espada is now not arbitrary. It is a ranking of the Serete's most wanted hollows. These are 10 hollows that are so incredibly dangerous that they are a risk to the human world and Soul Society. They are kill on sight hollows. Above the other kill on sight hollows.
Yeah.
But also we don't really want to engage them directly because we could die.
more of a report on site hollows.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
just knowing their whereabouts is incredible knowledge that Soul Society's been trying to get a hold of for a long time. But they also don't want to just walk into Hueco Mundo, which they have a pretty good idea that they're there.
yeah.
So
Uh,
you
so
don't run up to them, don't talk to them, don't accept any candy from them. Just run back to your post, inform your
re-
nearest commanding officer, and just sit there with your pretty little head.
bunker down, pray you don't die.
Pray you don't die. So that's kind of them.
The Espada also all keep their original rankings. So Stark is 1, Bargon's 2, Hollybell and Nell are both 3. So we're gonna have to reason that one out, and we're gonna say that because Nell is a child most of the time, she's not on the list, but she is comparable to Hollybell.
Yeah.
Ulquior's 4, so on, so on, so on. And Rudeborn is taking the spot of Espada number 10 officially for our purposes. Maybe he'll get a bump. I don't know. I don't care
Mostly
that
because
much
we
right
don't
now.
like Yami Largo, who is dying on impact.
Yep, he is one of the few characters we're just annihilating from orbit. Because fuck him. Fuck him and his fucking archetype of characters that Kenpachi's also in.
Which
Except
actually brings up the great point is because we're getting rid of Kenpachi, we can also just safely get rid of Yami Largo.
Yep.
And anybody like him, which is going to be numerous. Oh man, I can't wait for the Stern Ritter. We're taking an axe to them.
You thought we fucking mangled the Soul Society.
Yeah, one of the instigating things for this rewrite is we were gonna try and touch as little as possible while still keeping a cohesive story. So just kind of keep all of Kubo's building blocks and then make something new. Not so with the Stern Ritter. We are actually just scraping some things out and putting some of our own stuff in, and hopefully it all still fits.
Yep.
But we'll get to that.
We'll get there. I think that's next episode we're going to be touching on that.
Yes.
But anywho, so again, the Espada are just the top 10 most powerful dudes in the Hueco Mundo as far as Soul Society is concerned. These are the people that are on our fucking warning cards. The Fracciones take the place of the Numeros in that they are just the rank and file. They are not Espada level, but they work for the Espada or for whatever faction that they belong to.
Yeah.
And we're not going to go into them. There's a handful of them, and none of them are really worth talking about. But they are villains, so we can just have them just be fight fodder. So that works.
Throw them to the wolves.
Throw them to the wolves. I did mention Dordoni and Sarusi earlier. They are going to still be Privaron Espadas, which, again, the concept of that is changing. Rather than being demoted Espada, well, they still kind of are. They are Espada level hollows that Soul Society is aware of, but because that there is greater threats out there, so they don't care enough to actually report on them.
Yeah.
Once you drop to Espada number 11, you're not on the bulletin board anymore.
You're on a different bulletin board, like 2 hallways that way.
Yeah.
We have a separate filing cabinet for that.
Yep. Oh, they're over here. And I think that mostly covered the rest of my news.
That is true.
So now we can talk about the piece de resistance of what we're doing to Eisen. Because we've hinted at it, but we haven't really gone into it yet.
Yeah.
Would you like to take the helm on this one? Because I've been doing a lot of talking.
Well, you've been doing a lot of talking because I don't know your notes, and you care far more about the Espada than I do.
Oh, I'm done with the Espada. We're talking about Eisen.
No, I know. I was just saying that's why you're at the helm. Anyway, uh, basically, we talked about it a little bit before in that he's going to be less powerful than what he previously was. And at this point in the story, he's going to have, I think, access to the Hogyoku, but he's not going to like be like big number man on campus.
Yeah.
He's not gonna become the Aizen that we all hate until later. Later.
Much later.
Um, so at this point in the story, basically what we're doing to Aizen is that he is kind of a more of a think on your feet and curious version of kind of a mixture of Urahara and Mayuri. Because one of the things that really struck me as weird or kind of out of place with how he was characterized much, I guess, later in the timeline, earlier in the series, is during the flashback with Ichigo's mother and father and the whole explanation of Shiro and all that stuff, is that Aizen was very different back then in that he kind of just let things happen and used the data from that to inform future decisions. But that also was just kind of in sharp contrast to the Aizen that we've been fed up to now, who was just plans within plans, and everything was his plan from the beginning.
Which is stupid. I hate that trope.
I hate that trope. The only time it's ever been done with any slight nuance was like Death Note. And even then, we got to see their reasoning at every step of the way, so it never felt like contrived most of the time. So gonna pump the brakes on that part, and we're gonna bring this old Aizen to the forefront, where he's willing to let things go off the rails a little bit and emphasize his ability to roll with the punches and then use that to his advantage, kind of playing his own wild cardness off of himself.
Yeah.
Because as much as things that he does creates confusion for others, it could potentially create confusion for himself. But he is able to react to it better. And I'm gonna go with that going forward. So Aizen's less this plans within plans, and he's now more of a very charismatic snake oil salesman almost.
Yeah.
Where he is far more personable. He's the Aizen that we've been fed up to the end of Sarate before it came out that he was the main villain the whole time, Ooga Booga Booga. That's just gonna be his default personality, even after the reveal, because there's no point in just scraping his old personality and just replacing it with this generic sludge that you can call a personality. So he's always just gonna be this very personable, very happy to see you kind of dude, who also may crave your death because that furthers his plans. And then that's actually that's actually how he's going to go into Soul Society. In that he has 13 different ways to get out of Soul Society at any time. Just because he's been planning this thing for a very long time, and he knows that the second that he's going to get the Hogyoku, he's going to need to get out as soon as possible, because that marks the beginning of the end for him. And he needs to leave. So the second he gets the Hogyoku, he just fucking bamfs, doesn't even have time for a nice monologue, because he realizes that there's going to be a lot of people pissed at him, and a lot of people far more powerful than him pissed at him. So he gets to Hueco Mundo, and immediately he has to spend a while there setting up base, because he knows of a little bit of what's going on in Hueco Mundo, but he's not the powerhouse he used to be. So he has to go in and actually scout the place and find or create civil unrest. so that he can actually have a chance to even think about getting close to Baragon and his whole cronies. But the Aizen that we're creating is just a very think on your feet kind of fighter. And that
Furthermore, the, the white elephant in the room of Kyoka Suigetsu, one of the other overly powerful abilities in the series.
mm-hmm.
We're probably going to be moving that to being a Bankai.
Yeah, there's no reason to keep it as a Shikai, mostly because that's really fucking powerful.
Little OP.
That's really powerful, considering what it's capable of doing. So he's just going to have that be his Bankai, and then we can either create a new Shikai for him in case, or just have his Shikai be the thing that we've never seen before. I don't know. But yeah, just move his Shikai up to a Bankai because there's no reason. There's no reason not to have that.
Yeah.
And that can probably play into his kind of secrecy, in that he's probably had Kyoka Suigetsu for a very long time, and has probably even been passing it off as a Shikai when people ask about it.
Well, the funny thing is that he actually has a cover story in the original series for what his Shikai is,
mm-hmm.
in that it's more of a generic illusion that I think it's described as being a water type illusion Zanpakuto, where he creates a mist that kind of causes hallucinations.
Mm-hmm.
So we could do something with that.
And he's just lying the entire time.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a very consummate liar and a very professional huckster. Because he's been, even in canon, he's been lying to Soul Society for a very, very long time. And he's been doing really abhorrent experiments directly under everybody's nose. Pretty much all just to further his goals, and it's just going to be no different when he actually goes into Hueco Mundo. So, just kind of a shyster of a man. And that's gonna translate a little bit more into Gin and Tozen as well. They're gonna be a bit more. They're going to be his muscle more than they were. Because while they were nice to have in his little invasion party, they also didn't really do much in the grandest scheme of things. Tozen, got memed instantly upon using his Bankai almost.
Not even his Bankai. He was turned into a weird Soul Reaper Arrancar. Not, we're not even going to fucking that.
Oh boy,
We'll be here for hours.
Yeah.
Aizen gives him a resurrection, whatever that means.
Yep.
Anyway.
Gin was not a bad guy, but was a bad guy, but wasn't a bad guy because Matsumoto? Question mark?
We haven't really talked about Gin and Tosen, mostly because they haven't really been huge factors in our overall discussion. We can probably rework Gin into something that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like have him be an actual, fucking double agent the entire time.
Yeah.
A double agent. But, set up the clues to that. Like we've been doing. And Tosin, I feel, is much more, into what Aizen's doing. So Aizen's plan, for those of you who don't know, because I didn't know until I read it on Wikipedia or on the wiki, because, it's not really clear, is he is kind of he's more aware than most of the system of the Soul universe is ruled over by a king who doesn't really do anything. He's just a dude in a jar. And Aizen sees that as, well, if he's just a battery, why call him the king? Why shouldn't I be the king? I have just as much authority of the Soul King, if not more. because I can do things. So Tosin, being a guy who seeks peace, might be seeing this as an opportunity to follow Aizen and kind of from the top down remove violence from the world, and is just getting his hands dirty in the process.
And then Geen would be more like maybe he was amicable to the idea at the beginning, and so kind of got into Aizen and Tozen's good graces early, but then backed out, but also realized that it would be a waste to just back out explicitly, so has just kind of been playing both sides after probably like maybe the 2-month mark of being in them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Tozen is as Aizen's captain, probably started off probably pretty amicable to the idea of this young upstart lieutenant way back when, because probably pretty much the second Aizen got into any position of power, he has been using that to covertly bug and sabotage Soul Society from within, like since day one. And then once he actually got Tozen onto his side, they decided to pull in third seat Geen into it, see if he was amicable. Turns out he was. Then secretly he wasn't. And then has just been going forward with trying to amass as much power as possible. One of them being the Hogoku, and the other being getting some really swole hollows on his side. And the third being whatever he was going to do in Karakura Town, because I actually forget what he was doing there.
Okay, so the Karakura was the end goal of making the Oken.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just making a key that can open the barrier to the Soul King Palace, because the ultimate goal was storming the Soul King Palace.
Yeah.
Which, knowing what we know now, good fucking luck, Aizen.
Yeah, dude, like, fucking Ichibei and Sewing Bitch.
Yeah, no, like Yawak cheated like 4 times to get past those guys.
Yeah, no, what the fuck? Like, goddamn, Aizen, you had to have some numbers going into there.
Like, I feel like Ichibei would have been the biggest problem, but
yeah,
man.
And again, like a black, he will die.
Look, that was an error.
That was a very, very bad translation error, and boy, they really should have proofread that.
Like a black ant, you will die.
Left out a keyword there.
Mm.
Ooh, boy. But yeah, Aizen, basically to boil it down, Aizen playing the trickster more often than not. Very quick to defuse situations and try to steer things as hard into his favor as possible, even if he will be at a disadvantage for a bit. But just willing to... His inexhaustible ability to lame it out is probably going to be his biggest strength, because he's been playing Soul Society for centuries at this point. He's willing to wait a little bit longer, and he's willing to fight a little bit dirtier, and he's willing to just let others take the fall for him. Pretty much anything that he can to just not be in the firing line.
But yeah.
And again, just to tie it back down around to the Arrancar, everybody on his team is just more people that he swindled into being fodder against people and forces far more powerful than him.
Like, I imagine he's just sitting, like, Ulquiorra. I'm imagining a scene of Noitora and Grimjow just fighting it out, because those two are pretty comparable to each other. And then Aizen's like, yeah, why are you two sitting here wasting all your time
getting nowhere here. Where if you work with me, maybe we can get rid of Bargon and you two can actually be somebody's. I don't know how he swindled Ulquiorra because of Ulquiorra and whatever his deal is. We can be thinking something.
There's extreme apathy from the sounds of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what attracted Ulquiorra to Eisen, but we'll connive something.
We're good at that. We're good at conniving. Anyway, what are we doing next episode?
I believe we are next going to be covering the Sternritter, the Star Knights of the Vandenreich.
Oh, that's weird. My mouse is showing up on the screen. I didn't do that last time.
I'm not sure what that's about.
But yeah, we're gonna delve into the Sternritter, Star Knights, oh god, what did he call them? The top like 5 dudes in the Sternritter. Did he have a special name for those guys?
He did, but fuck, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. That's probably not even going to be a thing anymore just because of how little we even have to go off of anymore. And that's a bit of a hint of what we're going to be doing. Because remember, people at home, there were 26 of those technically 27. 27 of those bastards. What are we down to, Trevor? Like 12?
12.
12.
Not counting Yawak and consolidating 2 of them into 1 because purposes.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll get to that. Anyway, that concludes our treatise on Arrancar. So see you next episode.